Welcome everyone to another episode of Words of Wisdom. I'm your host, Minerva Maharajh, and today I have another special guest with me. I am sharing with you all my best kept secrets of who have helped me, mentored me, my business, and helped take my life and business to the next level. So I want to introduce you to Louis. Louis is a martial arts and entrepreneur, martial artist, I should say, an entrepreneur. I'm just excited that you're here, Louis. And he practices and teaches capoeira, which is a Brazilian martial art. The discipline and skill set he has learned through martial arts is the core of his business philosophy, perseverance, and the pursuit of excellence in everything one chooses to endeavor in. Currently, he runs a marketing agency and works with clients in a plethora of different industries, and he has helped me with my business. Welcome, Louis.
Thank you so much for having me.
So I wanted to, well, first of all, share with everybody how wonderful you are and just how inspiring you are, because you really do uphold yourself to a high level of excellence. So I want to talk about today about how to achieve a level of excellence in no matter in anything you do. So talk to me a little bit about the standard that you hold yourself up to.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, like I mentioned, it was instilled in me through my martial arts training, and I suppose that that belief in myself and that that discipline I've carried through in everything that I've done in my life, and I tried to hold the people around me to the same sort of standards because I know what people are capable of, and I know a lot of times people will sell themselves short, and if they don't have someone pushing them or they don't have someone um, you know rooting them on, so to say, it's difficult. It's sometimes difficult to actually get what your true potential is out of whatever it is you're choosing to do.
Mm-hmm. So how did you get into martial arts?
Yeah, good question. So when I was 2 years old, at the Vancouver Children's Festival, I saw capoeira being practiced, and I still have the memory to this day. And I remember seeing them, and I would emulate them and pretend, in my bedroom at home, I'd pretend to do the different movements, and I'd do handstands on the wall, and I'd jump from my dresser to my bed, and I would see them at different events and festivals throughout my childhood. And then when I was 6, my mother enrolled me in actual classes, and I mean, up until the pandemic, I had been training, a couple times a day. Sorry, a couple times a week, sometimes a couple times a day, and yeah, I would say that that's what I'm best at. And like you mentioned, and like I said, I choose to implement the same philosophy in everything else I do because that's what I know best, and it gets results.
Mm-hmm. Well, it sure does. And I think as you just shared that story about when you were 2 years old, it's almost like a moment of your soul awakening, or it just spoke the language to your soul and it just woken something in you.
Yeah.
So talk to me about how you started, how this all led you to the marketing agency that you have now.
Yeah, good question. So, um, I guess where that story begins is before the marketing agency. Right out of high school, I wanted to be an actor, and I sort of always knew I did. Like since I was a young kid, I was always into the performing arts,
Mhm.
and basically when I was 18, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna go all into this. And my thought process was is by the time that my peers get out of university and start looking for jobs, I'll have already gotten my way into the industry, and I'll start booking significant roles. And I did that for quite a few years, and right up until the point that I started getting relatively good and seeing like a modicum of success is when I realized that I really didn't like the industry. Um, and at that same time, I was sort of going through like, I wouldn't go as far as to say an identity crisis, but I realized that like I wasn't living up to my potential, I suppose. And I stumbled across some videos on YouTube, and I was seeing kids, like kids that were younger than me, making a lot of money. And it just seemed like something that intrigued me. The business model made sense, and I decided to buy a few courses, and I pretty much did a complete 180 in my life. I went from, walking down one path and completely turned around and went down the other way. And I guess that's where, uh, what has led me to where I am today.
Yeah, that's inspiring. I love that story. I didn't know that about you, that you wanted to be an actor. I was doing acting as well. So were
I
you
know,
in
I know, I
were
know.
you were you in anything that we may have seen?
Yeah, I was in Riverdale for in the first season for like a little bit, like tiny bit, and then like commercials and a bunch of other
Wow.
TV shows in Vancouver.
Yeah, amazing. And it's so interesting how you kind of need those moments to unfold in order to bring you to the awareness that you're out of alignment
Mhm.
to what you're supposed to do. And now you are truly, I feel, living and have stepped into your fullest potential or doing something that serves on such a higher level. So talk to me about, like, what are the steps to achieve or and maintain that level of excellence in no matter what it is you do, whatever job or industry, or what are the steps to achieve that level of excellence and to maintain it?
Okay, so there's quite a lot to unpack there. I think the fastest way to do anything that you want to do, and it sort of ties back into that like knowing, the internal knowing that you're capable of doing something. But
Mhm,
we want to talk about things that are actually actionable. So the first thing that you do is you find someone who's already exactly where you want to be.
mhm,
And it's better, like the better that that person is at that thing, the better it is for you, because you're going to be able to emulate the actions they take, the way they think. And in my opinion, that's like the first step, is you find someone who's already there, who's, and more importantly, has gone through the road that you're about to go through,
yes.
because they're going to be able to help you identify the pitfalls where they went wrong,
Mhm,
and you'll be able to ask them questions. And but more importantly, um, like there's a transfer of energy, I suppose. So like you want to be around those people, and start to embody their personality traits and characteristics, and then use those in the pursuit of whatever it is you're going after.
mhm. Yeah, you really do. It's so contagious, the people that you are around. And so, if you want to be at a higher level, I truly believe that you need to be surrounded with like minded and higher vibed, higher level energy people. And having a mentor, which is huge.
Yeah, yeah, and that's sort of what I mean. I mean, like, sometimes it's difficult to go to the top and get them to be your mentor. A lot of times in business, that actually is the case. Like there's a lot of older guys that are really successful, but there's no one calling on them for their expertise anymore, and they're more than willing to extend their hand and help a younger guy or woman out. Um, so I think, in business, it's easy to find a mentor. You want someone who's been really successful, but it really doesn't matter what you're doing. You just want to find someone the best that you can, and you want to ask them to help you, or seek them out. A lot of times you're gonna have to pay for their information, but that is the
Mhm.
fastest way to reach success, in my opinion.
I agree. I agree. I think it really expedites the process of your growth. And when you grow and the more expanded you are, the more you're able to help others grow and expand. So getting a mentor is really important, being around like-minded people. Talk to me about mindset. How important is mindset in terms of achieving the next level of excellence?
I'd say it's 90% of the game. There's a lot that ties into it. There's a lot that ties into it, and honestly, we could sit here for 2 hours talking about this. So what I'll do is I'll try to condense like the most important aspects of it. Um,
Mhm.
the first thing is you have to prime your mind, and it sounds easier said than done, but you only want to focus on the outcomes that you want to have occur,
Mhm.
and you don't want to let negative occurrences enter your mind.
Mhm.
Um, you want to fixate on only the outcomes you want to have happen, and that in doing that, you'll find the solutions to the issues that arise.
Mhm.
So I'd say that's the first place to start. Um, I mean, like Michael Jordan talks about, he'd never think about missing a shot before it was taken. He'd never think about losing a game, anything like that. He would only focus on one goal. He would fixate on that, which either was winning that game in front of them, and then beyond that was winning a championship. And that was the only thing he was ever focused on. Was winning the game and then winning the championship. And he'd never think about anything else. So there's another element in there, which is focus. So Bill Gates and Warren Buffett, for those of you who don't know, are really good friends in person. And when they were younger, I think it was in the 90s, Warren was at Bill's father's house, and Bill was there, and Bill's father asked them both, what would both of you say is the most, prominent contributing factor to your success? And he asked them to write down on a piece of paper what it was, and they both wrote down what their answer was on a piece of paper. And they flipped it over simultaneously, and they both wrote focus.
Mm.
So focus is a superpower. It's an absolute superpower. And
True,
focus
true.
doesn't mean focus on one thing. Focus is actually a process of elimination.
Mhm.
It's easier to remove than it is to focus on one thing if you have too many things going on.
Mhm.
Um, and another thing is like in Apple's offices, um, they would have, I don't know if it was on multiple different walls, but I know in under it was in the design offices. They'd have simplify, 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 then scratch, simplify out, and simplify again. So focus is I mean, for me, one of the biggest things. Um, so we went over focusing on what you want. We went over focus. What's another thing that most people can implement and see massive changes in what they're doing? I mean, to be honest, I think those are the two biggest things that
Yeah.
most people aren't doing and that they should do. Um, so I think we can leave it at that as far as mindset goes.
Yeah. Well, if we can go a little further on that, what I would ask is it sounds so simple, but how do you get more focused? Like, how do you eliminate the noise and the
Mm,
distractions or the
yeah,
negative thoughts that come up? How do you handle that?
yeah, good question. So, I mean, I'll answer the first question first, and then the second one. So the first one is how do you focus? So you need to look at what's in your life right now, and most people are doing or trying to do three, four, five, six, seven different things at once,
Mhm.
and they're getting about the same results in all of them.
Mhm.
So, and honestly, like it's difficult to do if you're attached to these things. But if you want success in any of them, you're going to have to drop everything else, at
Mhm.
least until you've reached success in that one thing. Because you
Mhm.
can't do anything if you're focusing on multiple things at a time. Because you think of it like you're putting 1 inch of energy into 7 different directions.
Mhm.
But if you just consolidated all of that and put it into one direction, you get 7 inches of energy or output in that one thing.
Yeah.
So it is a process of elimination. It's not about being smarter. Like most people think focus is like you focus on one thing. Um, or I mean, like people think that it's like when you're in the moment, you focus on one thing. Now there is an element of that like definitely staying present and like having perseverance and and being able to see a thing through to the end. That's incredibly valuable.
Mhm.
Um, but focus is far more a process of elimination, whether that's people, whether that's habits that you have, whether that's different pursuits that you have, um, you know, relationships. There's a lot of things that don't have a place or that shouldn't have a place in your life that you're keeping around because you're attached to them,
Yes.
and they're preventing you from actually going anywhere in one direction.
Yeah.
And most of the time, like if you don't sacrifice for your dream will become the sacrifice. That's something that I try to always say to myself.
Mhm.
um, Now the other part to your question was, how do you stop yourself from thinking negative thoughts? So the first thing is, it's not about stopping yourself from thinking them. It's not like, oh God, I'm thinking this negative thought, oh, I gotta stop, because then you're just perpetuating it. Like if
Yep.
you have it, that's fine.
Yes.
um, you sort of let it pass. But what you want to be doing is creating a really positive feedback loop for yourself. So whether this is through affirmations or through visualization or through focusing on your wins,
Mhm.
um, having a practice that you do daily to prime your mind. I mean, these things are
Yes.
incredibly valuable and important. Um, so that's what I do. Um,
Amazing.
and then it gets to the point where you sort of don't need those things anymore because you feel like you're the shit.
Yeah, it's so true.
Yeah.
And it really is about getting into the habit. And I like that you say it's not about getting rid of it and judging it, because I think that does, like, what you resist persists. So it's almost like befriending it or allowing it to be there. And it's true. Just instead of trying to fight that, is condition a new cycle that does serve you, like the affirmations, the mantras, and nurturing yourself in the positive way could decrease or maybe even eliminate that cycle, or it doesn't have such a strong hold on you as it does before. And when it shows up, it's like, okay, I see you, and it's easier to release and not allow it your focus to go on that, because really what you focus on, that's where energy goes. So this is also powerful. Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
So one more thing, because this is, I do believe in, the soul and spirituality, and I know you have some component of that in your life. So let's talk about energy. Like, how much of a role does energy play in being excellent and hitting that next level of excellence? How has it played out for you? And I know I'm asking a couple questions there, but talk to me about energy.
Yeah. So the biggest thing that comes to mind right now, and it's something that I'm trying to focus on, is like always feeling good in your body.
Mhm.
I think that's well, if you want to get to the core of it, I mean, like most people are doing whatever it is they want to do, or they think they want success for some reason, but the real reason is they don't feel good in their body right now. So they're trying to achieve this thing because they think once they get it, they'll feel good in their
Mm.
body.
Mhm.
There's a massive disconnect between what you feel and the outside world. I think that's the case for most people in the West. Um, but what I found is that's sort of the key, is being at peace in your body, being relaxed, and then feeling really good,
Yeah.
feeling really good. So, I mean, I'll take, and we can talk about the action here too. So whenever you
Let's
feel
do it.
any sort of unpleasant feelings, the instinctual reaction that people have to them is to try to suppress them or avoid them.
Mhm.
But the key is actually just to feel them, to
Yes.
really accept them and feel them. So that's something that I've been implementing. And as far as energy goes, I think like um, that's probably the most important thing that's actionable. And
Yeah.
then beyond that, I mean, you can say what you will about this, but I think that I'm like blessed and destined to to do whatever it is I want to do. Um, I don't really care what people think about that. I'm okay sharing that. Um,
Yeah, no,
but
this
I
is the place because this is what we
yeah,
believe here, that anything
yeah,
is possible, really.
yeah, yeah. So, um, and then I mean, apart from that, like you know, I think I have a strong connection with God. I mean, and God to me is everything. It's like the cosmic energy that permeates everything, and
Yes.
I think I've always had a strong connection.
Yeah.
Um,
In what ways do you find you easily connect to God? Or when you feel disconnected, what do you do to get connected to God?
Presence,
Hmm.
feeling, and then meditating.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
beautiful. Awesome. Well, what else, what last words would you like to leave with our audience about reaching that level of excellence?
You can have anything you want in life, but you can't have everything.
What do you mean by that?
You're gonna have to pick. You're gonna have to pick. And it's always easier if you're not fighting yourself. So whatever it is, there's something um, you'll know internally when it's right.
Hmm.
And if you don't have that internal feeling, it's going to be very difficult. Still doable, but very difficult. And you will have to pick. And if you don't pick, then quite honestly, you probably won't have any of it.
Yeah. And what I'm getting from that is really picking the path of least resistance. You can always choose. You can choose the hard way, choose the path of least resistant way, that ease, that flow, listening to that feeling coming from that expansive, deep knowing place. And you really can choose. And I personally believe you can have it all when you follow that path of least resistance, or you
Mm-hmm.
follow that soul space, that energy being, whatever you want to call it. There's so many words, but I feel like we are these energy beings. And when you connect to that place and lead from that place, things can flow with ease and you can create anything. Like the same energy that created worlds created you and lives in you. So you have that same power to create. Just hopefully you're choosing to create good
Mm-hmm.
over bad, right?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so, so much for being here today, Louis.
Yeah, of course. My pleasure.
Before we go, I like to do a lightning round with you. So I'm just going to throw out 5 questions and I want you to just shoot out the first word or phrase that comes to mind. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. What's your favorite morning practice?
Right now it's Wim Hof.
What is that?
The ice pan, his breathing technique.
Oh, okay. Yes, yes, yes. I didn't hear you. That's why. What is a book that's changed your life?
Um, there's been a lot, but most recently, psychocybernetics.
Mm, cool. What's your favorite podcast?
Um, yours.
I know that's true. What's another one you're listening to?
um, I guess this is cliche, but Joe Rogan has a lot of people that are that I like to listen to. I don't listen to podcasts that often, but
Oh,
um,
okay.
yeah,
Fair enough. Fair enough. What's your favorite element of nature?
the sun.
Yeah. And what's one word you would use to describe this year, 2020? One word.
Opportunity.
Opportunity. Yes, I love it. I love
Hmm.
it. Well, thank you so much for being here and for sharing your wisdom with all of us. And thank you to all our listeners for listening. See you all next week.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.